Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and before we get into part 2, I just want to thank you for the support from part 1. I honestly thought that was just gonna, YouTube would just kill that video, but enough of you got involved with it to to make it go somewhere. So thank you very, very much, and let's get on to part 2. So the song, I'm sure you've probably already guessed from the intro, is Oh Well Part 1 by Fleetwood Mac, and specifically Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. And this song, it came out in 1969 as a single after their third album, Then Play On, which is probably, I would say it's probably my favourite Fleetwood Mac album, is Then Play On, and the artwork looks like really, really cool as well. So it came out as a single after that, and then in 1970, Oh Well Part 1 and Part 2 were included on a US reissue of Then Play On, like I said, the year later in 1970. And I think the CD version also has it. And things like, Fleetwood, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac Greatest Hits has Oh Well Part 1 and Part 2. And today we're going to be looking at Oh Well Part 1, and specifically Peter Green's part of it. So the song kind of, it was, because it's pre-Buckingham and Nick's Fleetwood Mac, which is the Fleetwood Mac that the vast majority of, Joe Public know, things like Rumours, all that sort of stuff, and the many lineups they had. They went on to have just unbelievable success, but Peter Green Fleetwood Mac, for me, is the one. That's the Fleetwood Mac that I love, kind of thing. And the band members at the time, so you had John McVie, you had Jeremy Spencer on the piano, you had Danny Kerwin on as one of the guitars, and again, incredible part of that album, Then Play On, another guitar player that just cannot be overlooked at all, amazing guy. You had Peter Green as well, and I'm forgetting someone here, I know I am. John McVie, Danny Kerwin, Mick Fleetwood, Jeremy Spencer, and Peter Green. Am I forgetting one? You let me know in the comments. I think that was the lineup for Then Play On. But like I said, it charted pretty well in the UK. I think it got to top 10 when it came out in the UK. And some various other European countries, top 20, top 30, top 40. And in America, it was sort of a minor hit at the time. I think it got into the American top 50, I think, or maybe top 100. But again, it was pre-Buckingham and Nick's and that kind of era. So Fleetwood Mac at this time were more of a, I don't know, maybe not a cult band, but they had a much smaller following than what they would go on to have. So, but this song, the reason why I love this song, it comes back to what we looked at last week. Again, it's that melody. And for me, it's such a cool showcase as well of rock guitar. And it was also my kind of introduction when I first started playing nearly 7 years ago now. So, or about 7 years ago. So it was kind of my introduction to that kind of music. Like I said, I wasn't around when all this stuff was popular, and I had no family members growing up that were musicians or into blues. I found this stuff way, way later on, and this to me was sort of like a gateway drug, this song, both for the style of it and Fleetwood Mac, and as a player for that style, because the riff itself, it's quite an approachable riff, and you can sort of play it at a lot of different levels. And actually, I'll put in a clip now of me playing this riff 3.5 years ago, so about halfway through my guitar playing life, and you see where I was at 3.5 years ago. So listening back to that now, although it's you can tell it so well, it's not really, like, it's played too fast, which is fine, whatever. But there's a few mistakes in there, and it's because I wasn't hearing it right. And it just goes to show that even if a riff, like I said, this is an approachable riff, but even if something's easy, when it comes to guitar, and I really believe this as well, and I think it's an overlooked point on the guitar, this thing, right, to sit and play this thing, even simple riffs, is not easy. it's really difficult, and you've got to be able to really listen, and that takes as much practice as the techniques itself. You've got to be able to hear what really is happening in a song and then apply that to then your own playing sort of thing. So, like I said, it's an approachable riff, but nothing is easy on guitar. And for me, the melody, the fact that it was the gateway to Fleetwood Mac and then more broadly that style of music, it's a riff that for me is just, it, you know, well deserves to be on this list. And it will be quite an extensive list, and we're only on the second song / riff. So I think let's get into the lesson part of it. All right then, so hopefully you've got a nice clear view of the fretboard there. We are just in standard tuning. If you try and play along to the record with this song, you'll notice that it's never going to sound right, because like with a lot of songs at that time, standard tuning wasn't like it is today, you know, with a tuner pedal where it's A at 440 and everyone's standard tuning sounds the same. Back then, they kind of tuned to themselves, and I think it helped give it, you know, an additionally unique sort of sound when everyone had their own tunings. But if you're just tuning at normal modern standard tuning and you're playing along with the record, don't be annoyed that it's kind of out of tune. It's just the way it is. But we're in E standard, the normal way today. So this riff then sort of sounds like this. That's kind of the main part of it. So let's get on to that. So there's two ways to do the opening. You can kind of go, which is just open E string, hammer on to the 3rd fret of the E string and pull off. Trying to look at the camera as I go to not block it, but like that. But to me, if you can really listen to it, that's not quite right. I think he's picking the 3rd fret and then pulling off. So rather than, we've got, it just helps give it more push and power if you can pick the open and the 3rd, then pull off. And it's little details like that that I'm trying to get better at identifying. Do you know what I mean? Because all together they add up. So that to me is the better way to do it. Pick the open, pick the 3rd, then pull off. And then we're going open A to hammer onto the 2nd fret of the A. Like that. And then we're going open D. So it's just like a little run. And then we're doing a hammer on pull off on the 1st fret of the A. And then you can kind of pick this or not. I do think it sounds better if you pick it, but a hammer on pull off on the 3rd fret of the E string. And then we got the stab sort of power chord thing. Like that. That's the first part of it. And then the second part starts the same. So open E string, pick the 3rd fret of the E, pull back off. Open A, hammer onto the 2nd. Open D. But then we're doing open A, hammer on 2nd fret A. And then roll your finger over to the 2nd fret of the D and pick that. So we got this for the second part. And then back to the you know, the stab power chordy type things. So first part. That's kind of what you want to be going for, and then you end up being in the place where the power sort of chord, which is just open 2-2. You could just do open and 2, I suppose, on the E and A, just like that. And we go back to the first part. And then this bit is reasonably tricky. You've got, I'll play it first, then I'll try and explain it. It's sort of like that. So we're going, we're starting off the same way. So open on the E, hammer onto the 3rd on the E, and pull off. Same again with the A, open on the A, hammer onto the second fret of the A. And then we're doing open D and fretted second D. And then back to open D. Like that. So to finish that, open E to third E. Open A, hammer onto second. Open D to second fret D, picked. Back to the open D. Back to the second fret A. Open A. Third fret E. Second fret E. Open E. Then we're back in the... So it sounds like this. Something like that. And the more of those you, rather than just going, because you can kind of get away with not really picking them, but again, for the power and the tightness of the riff, I think it sounds better if you can go pick each of those notes. And that kind of makes up the bulk of the main riff there. It's sort of in three parts. This part, this part, and this part. And then that'll take us on to this part. So all we're doing there is we're leaving the open E string ring, and then on the 5th fret of the A to the 7th fret of the A, we're kind of playing. And you just want to kind of focus on the A and E string for this bit, really. And then one guitar's kind of going like this, kind of like that, while the other one does this. You kind of get this, like, on the G and B string on the 12th, you kind of get this, like, ferocious... Sort of like that, and that's a little bit tricky to kind of get that right, I think. Because you kind of want it to just sound like the G and B and just attitude kind of thing. So what I'm doing with that, I'm actually using 3 fingers, even though it's only G and B. And with my first finger, I'm kind of muting the D string. And with the back of this finger, I'm kind of muting the high E string. So we've only got the G and B. And I think you can kind of get away with doing it like this as well. Not there. Yeah, there. But I don't think that sounds quite right. That would be the 7th of the G and the 8th of the B. And it's also more awkward because you're going from this shape kind of backwards. So it's easier to just do a little... You could even do it as a bar, I suppose, but the muting would be harder. You know, you could do it as a little bar, but I find it easier to do that because then you've got all that muting as well. So we do that a couple of times, again, listen to the song, and then it moves on to this kind of sound. So let's kind of try and cover off that bit. So after you've got it's a similar riff, but you're kind of more in control single note wise. So you've got 5 to 7 on the A, and pick them both, like pick the 5 and the 7. So we're going 5 7, 5 on the D, back to the 7 on the A, and then 5 7 again. And then we got that. Sort of like that. And then you've got a second guitar that is playing this. Something like that. Which is on the G string, which is 7 to 9, and then 8 on the B. Back to 9 on the G, back to a 7 and 9. All you got. And then there's like a walk-up riff of this. So we're going 5/7 on the A string, 5 on the D, back to 7 on the A, so nothing's changing yet. And then we've got this walk bit. Kind of like that. And the same thing down here on the second guitar. So 5/7 on the A, like I said. 5 on the D, back to 7 on the A. 7 on the D, back to 7 on the A. 8 on the D, back to 7 on the A. So you get. Kind of like that. And then on the second guitar part, on the G string, we're on G and B. 7 to 9 on the G. 8 on the B, back to 9 on the G. 10 on the B, back to 9 on the G. 11 on the B, back to 9 on the G. And now this bit, I'm going to level with you. I'm not actually 100% sure how this goes. I play it as best as I can. We got this kind of run that's like. And I play it very slightly differently every time, but in principle, I'm going on the E string, 3rd to 5th on the E string, like I said. Walking that up, so 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7. Moving to the A, 5, 6, 7. So, but like the rhythm of it is important as well. So it's something like. Something like that. So 3rd to 5th on the E, 6th, 7th on the E, 5, 6, 7 on the A, 5, 7 on the D. Slide that when you hit the 7 to 9 on the D. So we're going. No, sorry. Right, it's something like that, and again, it's a little bit difficult for me to kind of figure this out properly. But when you kind of play it along with the record in the right time, just you'll hear it in the way it's like something like that. It sounds right to me. So I play it slowly. 3, 5, 6, 7 on the E. 5, 6, 7 on the A. 5, 7 on the D. Slide to the 9. Moving on to the G string, 7, 8, 9. And then we change to this chord, which is 9 on the G, 8 on the B, 7 on the high E. You can kind of get away with not including the high E, but so we got. And just play with those frets, whether you pick it, whether you. Do you know what I mean? Just play with it. Get the pattern in your head, and then play with. Do you slide? Do you hammer on? Do you pick each note? And you'll come up with a way that it sounds right. And as long as it's in time, I think that it's close enough, kind of thing. And you finish on that chord there, which is a very Peter Greeny kind of triad, that is. Because, I mean, just quickly, another example of that would be this. If anyone knows that song. Same shape. So hopefully that kind of makes some sense. Anything that you want to kind of add to that, let me know down below. And that's it for this video. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you again for another one very soon. Some normal gear videos as well will still be coming up. But like I said, thanks for watching and digging this series.